Welcome back, everyone, to Creator Economics. Today's guest is one of the most unique creators I think I've ever stumbled upon. Blake and I talk about this a little bit on previous podcasts, but the rise of VTubers is something that is so incredibly fascinating to Blake and I that we wanted to have CodeMiko on. If you haven't seen her on Twitch, you need to check her out. Her streams are next level. She creates her own environment. She's created her own characters. And so happy to bring you this episode with the technician or CodeMiko. Enjoy. The first question I think we should just start with is just kind of explaining, yourself as the technician, and then also like who is CodeMiko and how did this all start?
Gotcha. Okay, so I'm a technician, and I basically have a background in research and development, and I mainly researched on live animation, and it was for production to be for like animation studios, etc. But I thought that should really be for live streaming platform. It would just make more sense. And so our team got laid off, and when I was without a job, I was like, it's perfect time to try to venture on something that I've wanted to do for a long time, which was basically VTubing, but with my own twist to it, right? And that's when I came up with CodeMiko, who was an NPC video game character who failed to be in video games because she's so scuffed and glitchy that she decided to try out Twitch streaming. And I was also like a game developer hobbyist, so I like the thought of having like an excuse to build like various types of genres of games, and for her to like visit those genres of games and have chat interactivity in each of those genres of games, and just have this like hybrid of like live animation mixed with gameplay mixed with live streaming, and creates fun chaos out of it.
What you just explained is like so many different positions all like mixed into one. Like,
yeah.
How big is your team? And like what is everyone working on, or is it just you?
It started off as just me. And then I would basically, my schedule was weird where I would wake up at 2 a.m. and then 2 a.m. and then dev till 12 p.m., stream at 12:30, and then get around to 9 p.m. and then I would sleep. And then I would wake up at 2 a.m. and then I would dev, and then that went on for a while until like December. Around December when I actually like grew really fast. I had like 200, 300 viewers, and then in December I like grew to like 10,000. And then when you grow that fast, all these other things start happening. Like your inbox starts getting filled with like business questions, and then you don't know how to talk to like big sponsors, and then that's when you start like getting a manager and an agent, and then you start delegating your tasks, and then you figure out, oh shoot, I'm like what they call like an influencer now, right? And then you have to think about your social medias, your Instagram, your Twitter, and your YouTube. And then basically when that happened, all of a sudden I had no more time left. And that's when I was like, okay, I need to build like a team of engineer, animator, character modeler, rigger, animator, and so that's currently my team.
Wow, that's amazing. And do you currently, so is that like 5 or 6 people full time that are working on this, or a lot of those part time as well?
It's a lot of it's contract. A lot of it, my senior engineer is like part time. And I'm actually looking for another engineer to help him out. And a lot of it is just what am I currently making, and I have a roster of people that I can reach out to and hire them contract. Since I'm not since I don't always need an animator, I need an animator for very specific things, or I would need a character modeler for very specific things.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. Mm-hmm. And I guess taking a step back, I mean, what you do is like incredible to watch from a viewing experience, because you will also show like the technician and Miko side of this. But the piece that is crazy to me is you're wearing like this, or like you have this really expensive rig, it seems like. But like how much actually went into like your actual setup, and was there like a crazy amount of risk in theory in the beginning when you were buying that initial setup? Like it seems like you have a crazy costume or a suit that you wear, and then I don't even know what else, but maybe you could just talk a little bit about that and what gave you the conviction to believe and buy all that stuff in the beginning.
I was kind of crazy, I think. But I really wanted to try it. I thought I mean, I know Twitch is like really brutal, but I've never seen someone do what I've done on stream before. So I was like, it's unique enough that maybe it'll work out. I never expected this many viewers though. I thought maybe I would peak at 1,000 and I would be happy with that. But I basically put down around 20 grand for the suit, for my computers, for my other setup, and then on the hardest part about it was I was also like tied up to a lease in in LA, and I moved closer to my work, but basically when I got laid, I had the apartment for just 4 months, so I had 8 months left, and I couldn't it was like 2 grand a month to live here. I wasn't making any money. And then I decided to spend another 20 grand on trying to make it on Twitch. And I started like really working on it in January, like my project. And then I became live in March, right? And I wasn't making anything that would pay, like I wasn't making enough money to pay rent until like June and July. And then, yeah.
So just I'm so fascinated by like just your different types of streams. Can you talk a little bit about like what goes on behind the scenes? Like how most streamers just like turn on their PC, they're like playing League of Legends, they're playing Fortnite, but now you have this team, you have this virtual creator. Can you explain like what goes on just to prepare to like get ready for a Twitch stream?
Yeah, a lot of things have already been set up, so it like prior. So it doesn't take too much. It's just really about me getting into my mocap suit. The helmet is always a little bit, it is adjusted, but you still kind of have to adjust a little bit of it, right? And then you have your face cam, and then you open up your engine, you run your level. Because I use NDI, I run that too. And then, and that's about it. It's mostly just, putting my suit on, making sure I pee before. And then it doesn't really take long, maybe 20 minutes for me to get ready enough to hit stream.
And then actually, I guess like because you're also building the environments that you're streaming in with like as well. Like I from when I've watched your streams, a lot of them are interviews and things like that. And I imagine from your side, you're trying to think about how to make these more interactive and like, actually building these. Like, are you actually? I mean, because from my perspective, it seems like you're putting in so much work into like the actual design and development of these rooms and yourself. Like, can you talk a little bit about that and what goes into that side too?
Yeah. So the rooms themselves are actually like before. I had my team, the rooms and the assets that I've used are actually just from the marketplace. Epic Store has like an incredible marketplace for you to just buy assets and props that you can use in your own indie games. And so that was like my resource for things like, things that you don't necessarily need to put time in, right? Like nowadays, modeling or animation assets you can easily get from the marketplace, so it's not it's a huge time saver and money saver as well. When it comes to engineering, like her mocap and her interactivity, the game functions, all those things had to be engineered and customized by me. And now though, I have like an environment artist where if I'm like creating a new scene, I'll describe him exactly like what I want, and then he'll start making it. We'll go back and forth. I'll direct him on it, and then like the environment gets finished, I bring it to stream. Then I have my senior engineer now who, we strategized like what the new things are going to be, what the new interactivity is going to be for this environment, like who are our guests, and I'll work with him on setting up like the interactivity part. And then with the mocap and the Miko stuff, when it comes to engineering, that's all, like, no one else can do that. Only I can do that. So I'll take charge on, making sure that her mocap's working right, figuring out, like, new techniques. Because right now we're playing with IK and FK for mocap. And just additional things for Miko will all be done by me. So that's kind of like how we've been doing it recently.
It's amazing.
You've grown so quickly on Twitch. Like, what do you credit that with? Do you think it's because you're tapping into this new space that is still undersaturated? Like, what do you think is the reason why people are just gravitating towards your Twitch channel right now?
I think because it's so wacky. It's so wacky, and there isn't. From what I've seen, that I haven't really seen any channel that is kind of like mine. So uniqueness, I think, helps you stand out a lot. And but on top of it, you can't, like, I think it's because, uniqueness, because people haven't really seen a stream like mine before. And Miko herself is kind of like, her personality is like very strong. She's got a very strong personality, and that it's very distinct and unique. And it's kind of annoying, but it's still what's the word? It's still very English is like my second language, so I'm trying to. I know the Korean word for it, but I can't figure out the English word for it. But it's like, she's very, like, bright, like, as in, like, highlighted, like, it's because her personality is so, like,
very
strong.
bubbly and like unique in the context of when you're watching it, you just, like, I think people are just engaged. It is just really unique. And
She's also just really loud.
I'm curious from that side, like, how do you think about separating even your own personalities between the technician, maybe your own, just like you as a person, and then Miko as well? Like, how do you compartmentalize all of that stuff?
CodeMiko is like, I put all of my, because me myself is kind of really reserved. So I put all of my wacky side to CodeMiko, and I have, like, the freedom to be kind of crazy with her. And it's number one thing that I enjoy when I'm, like, streaming as Miko. I can really show, like, the crazy side of myself that I'm usually not showing. And I just like, I'm not afraid to be cringe either. So I think it just letting whatever I want to say or whatever she wants to do, she just kind of does. So yeah.
So I think, like, one fascinating thing for me early on is that you chose to show your identity. We've seen a lot of virtual creators, and even, like, faceless creators like Dream and Corpse, who people really don't know what they look like and still don't to this day. Was that a decision you made pretty early on, that, like, you wanted people to know who was behind this character, or was it something that you weren't really too sure on? So kind of, like, walk us through, like, that process.
Yeah. I think I wasn't ever really gonna show my face, but then people in chat kept telling me that I was a 40-year-old man. And then I was like, dude, and then I think at some point I was like, I'm sick of telling people I'm not a 40-year-old man. But then I also thought, like, when I watch other VTubers and stuff, you do wonder, like, who's actually, like, the character, right? And I think, like, anonymity is, like, also really good when it comes to VTubing, because it like makes the character really believable if you're good at that, right? And but on the other hand, I think it's also, there's one thing about showing your face that gives you a bit, where it's like people know who's behind, like, the VTuber. And I think it's, for some reason, I don't know why, but, like, when it comes to Dream or Corpse, they're not animated VTubers, right? They're not animated characters. They're just kind of like pictures, and so a lot of it is kind of left to your imagination. For some reason, like, then I don't really like wonder like if it's like a 40, if it's like someone like creepy or like, I don't know. I don't exactly know what it is. But then with like the 3D animation VTubers, because they're kind of like, because you feel like they're more real, I guess. It feels like, I'm not actually sure, but for me, I wanted to show my face because I felt like the audience could connect with me a bit more than if I were just to have Miko on, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it definitely
I kind of
does.
rambled there. I don't know if any of that made any sense.
No, I mean it made a lot of sense to me. I think I personally, watching your stream and seeing both sides, like, and having the parallel view or side by side view is really interesting to just be like, wow, okay, that's what's going into this, and you sort of like break the fourth wall, and now you're like, this is actually me doing this, and or it's the technician doing this, and even the technician seems like the technician has a role or a character within the universe as well. So I think you've done a really interesting job of balancing all of that.
Thank you. I also think like when you show your face, it kind of helps like other people that wants to reach out to you feel kind of more connected because they know exactly who they're reaching out to. But at the same time though, like anonymity, like with VTubing, is also smart as well because you can just be the character and not have your personal life get influenced. Your project, your creation, your VTuber, and stuff like that. So, it's like positives in both ways, I think.
Yeah. It allows the person behind the scenes to have a normal life instead of being this like celebrity content creator that maybe can't go out in public because they continue to get bothered, but it also gives you this massive persona online where now you can build like this unique character that can live across worlds. So that's why it's like it's so fascinating to us. Have you thought about where this potentially goes? Do you think you'll build out more characters? Do you ever foresee like recasting CodeMiko, or do you think you'll always play that specific character?
Oh, that's a really interesting question. I mean, yeah, I actually want to. So like I'm building like a whole like interactive world for her, right? That's gonna have more games and stuff like that. I kind of want to have like my Avengers team for when it comes to like streaming, where they all live in that same world, and so they're all different game characters. And I imagine like, they'll have like this, like all like have the interactivity and the games built, and then they themselves will be like their own content creators. And one could be like from an FPS game, and that VTuber will have like a certain type of personality that's different from like a character from The Sims, And so I want to build it out more so that there's more characters inside her world, and yeah, more of her friends that she can like network with.
That's really
and have
crazy
on her
to think
stream, yeah, and collaborate together.
Yeah, I mean, you can almost build out your own like metaverse.
Yeah.
And have your own specific characters and you could do it the easier way, is like you started out as like a book or as like some type of cartoon, and then you have your character plus another character, and then all of a sudden that character has a Twitch channel, and then you you introduce new characters in this other ecosystem, and then you bring them to life on Twitch. It's a really unique model that I think we're going to see in the future of VTubers and just like building out original IP and then like using it to maybe start an anime or start like a TV show. I just think that's like the next evolution of where this is going to go once the creators realize like how big this opportunity can actually be.
I agree. Yeah. I call it the Mikoverse.
Yeah, I think when there was a stream I was watching when you sort of like went into the third person view for the first time, like I saw that clip, and that sort of just like blew my mind when you just started walking around, because like for so much of the time, like I'd only just seen you in like sitting in front of the desk as CodeMiko, and then you stand up and start walking around. There's like this full apartment or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. And that was like for me when it clicked, is like, wow, there's actually like a game that can be made here, and that seems just like there's endless potential as you start to think about all of that. So I'm really curious to see how all of that plays out, because the potential is really endless there. Like you can really create a whole new Mikoverse, as you said.
Yeah, and that's the part that I'm the most excited about, is like creating those games that, you know, where she will, because right now she's an NPC in a side of game world, but you know, it takes time to make like games and stuff like that, right? So it's hard to be a game developer and be a streamer and do everything on the plate. But you know, I'm slowly getting to the point where it's like I really want to push that whole like game world side more, and move slowly away from like the interview side. Like, funny enough, as I did the interview, I decided to do certain interviews so that I can have more time to dev bigger things. But what ended up happening is my interview content made me bigger, and then it caused me to not have any more dev time, because now I have to do other more important things. But yeah, it's funny how it like went that way.
Do you think you'll eventually look into like building a video game that CodeMiko like lives in as like the main character?
Not a video game per se.
I'm curious on the interview side has obviously become a big piece of it. Is there any, like, if you could have any guest in the world, like, have you thought about that as like who your dream guest would be on like your show?
Conan O'Brien.
Okay.
Conan O'Brien. Okay.
I am
All right,
a
let's
huge
see if
fan.
Blake, set it up.
Conan
Yeah,
O'Brien.
let's see if we can get to Conan O'Brien. There we go.
Elon Musk.
There you go. Elon Musk might be.
I think Elon would actually be into it, right?
Yeah,
Really?
Elon seems more likely
Yeah.
than any of the three you just mentioned. Just purely
Yeah,
off
totally
of like,
agree.
I feel like he might actually watch your stuff.
Yeah.
Can you guys call him up for me?
I'll
I
see what
got
I
him
can
on
do.
speed dial.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just text him.
Yeah. I'll just text him after this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you? I kind of want to talk a little bit about branding, because you mentioned like as you started blowing up that you were getting brand deals and companies were starting to talk to you. Have you worked with a lot of brands, and what does that look like? Are they just integrating into your Twitch content right now?
So we're just starting to wrap up deals and stuff. So, but usually it's kind of like, because Miko has, Miko, her concept can provide more than just social banners or just shout outs and stuff like that. And so, there's like integrations that she can do that's like more interactive with chat. There's more engagement. When it comes to my stream and engagement, it's I think that's one of the strongest things about my channel, is that my chat is very engaged with what's going on in the stream, and the interactivity aspect of it helps that. And so like when it comes to sponsorships, like, or brand deals, like that's I think the most appealing thing about working with CodeMiko, is that I provide like ways where they can have their product be more like stand out, rather than just like a social banner.
Yeah. I mean, a brand could really like ask you to build out a whole environment plus a unique character skin that lives in that environment. Hey, are you guys working towards that?
No, nothing where they have an entire environment, because I think like that's too much, right? Like Miko has to have her own brand identity and stuff. And even when it comes to clothing, like a company fully designing her clothes where she has to wear some brand for the whole month, it's a little bit because we need to keep her unique brand look, but more in the lines of like I don't want to give like specific examples because I haven't, but more like let's say there's a company that made chairs or that made mouse keyboard things, right? So like props is really easy to swap out. Making little miniature games with those props, making chat hit Miko in the face with those props, making chat, reign in their environment with those props, things that just are, that are interactive, but it doesn't completely like overcome like her stream setup.
Yeah, you touched on something that's really interesting there that we haven't really covered, but like by being in those virtual environments, you're able to unlock a lot more of this interactive side where the chat actually can be involved, and you're very good at throwing up polls of like press 1 or 2 or whatever it might be to cause things to happen. Like I'm just curious from your end, how do you think about all of that? And like, because you have some really strong advantages that other creators might not have by bringing in this interactive piece. So how do you just think about like even thinking about these ideas of what to do? Like I remember like early on you were doing stuff around like if you donated then like you would explode, or like those pieces. And so like maybe just talk a little bit about that piece and how you think about being in this virtual world, what stuff you can unlock that you obviously couldn't do in like the physical world.
Well, since you're in a virtual world, you literally can make and do anything, right? So that you can let your imagination just go everywhere. And for me, like I have a very ping-ponging brain. I just think of random stuff, and I'm like, oh, that's cool, let's try it. And if it works, keep it. If it doesn't work, throw it away, right? So, actually, if you look at my menu, nothing is cohesive. Like nothing really makes sense. Like there is no theme, and that's because like I basically created a bunch of things that I thought was fun, tried them out, and if it worked, I kept it. If it didn't work, I threw it away. For me, the pipeline has always been like, just think of whatever you think is funny that chat would like, try it out, and if it works, great. If it doesn't,
So I wanted to talk about this a little bit, and I think we have a real big problem on Twitch right now with just cyberbullying in general, and especially like females in gaming. Have you had to deal with this? Probably at a lot of circumstances you have, but do you think like being a VTuber is a little easier or harder when it comes to just cyberbullying? Because I just know like when I go on Twitch and just like read chats, I mean, there's still a lot of negativity around females in gaming. Is this something that you have to deal with?
Yeah. Funny enough, VTuber, actually, I have less comments, but that's misogynistic as a VTuber.
Why do you think that is?
I guess it's not as fun to make fun of a real robot. Like a fake first person than a real person. When it comes to like, I have to like every female streamer has dealt with like misogynistic comments, right, on the Twitch chat. I recently just had a stream with a girl to talk about, violence towards women, and I think Twitch, a majority of my audience is like, is with the times and stuff like that. But I was really surprised because, so we were just talking about violence towards women because of what happened in the massage parlors, right? And the comments that I read in chat was, like, so they're saying all guys are bad, or they would be like, so they're basically saying, this one guy was like saying, they're saying kill all men, like all these, when we were just talking about like violence towards women, and it was just like, or like rape and stuff like that, sexual harassment, I was really surprised to see it was almost like every other line was like, oh, men are victims too, or, I mean, that's all true, but it doesn't help the conversation, right? So, Yeah, I think there's still some work to be done when it comes to having like the community of Twitch. Most of the community of Twitch is not toxic, but there's definitely some chunks that are a bit, surprisingly, a bit more toxic than I would have imagined.
Yeah, it's super unfortunate. Like, just this overall Twitch, and I mean the internet in a lot of ways is like that, and it's super unfortunate. I'm commend you for just continuing to do what you're doing, and I mean your stream is incredibly entertaining, and so I would be very bummed if you ever stopped doing it for any other reason, like you just didn't want to do it. But I'm curious, I guess, just like maybe taking one further step back, like when you're thinking about the future of all of this, do you think there is going to be a piece where you do rotate yourself out, and that, like what Reed touched on before, where you might have someone else play CodeMiko at some point, or no?
Oh no, I think it'd be too obvious. That's not me.
Okay.
Yeah. I think I think that only works if like your character doesn't have much personality, or your character is such a caricature that, like, because it's so exaggerated and such a caricature that you can swap someone out, right? Like Kermit the Frog. Like, no one will notice if it's a different actor with the same voice, right? But when it comes to like CodeMiko, because a lot of like how she acts and her stories and stuff are like comes from me personally, that I think that's hard to just like, people will notice if I get someone else, and I tell them to act like me,
Yeah, fair.
Yeah.
That's going to be like the issue with sustainability, I think, in all of this is like, is there a world where VTubers can sub people in and out while still staying consistent to who that character really is? Because I just truly believe that's where this gets interesting for like Nickelodeon, Disney, like all these big media companies, and like acquiring new IP. Like you said, it's like it's easy to switch Kermit out if you can find someone that does that voice, right? So I think all these VTubers need to figure out like, okay, where do I think this is going to be in 10 years? And do I think I'm going to always be this person? Because I think if VTubers are trying to build like what you said, like this, what'd you call it? Not a metaverse. Thank you. If you're trying to build that, then you have to figure out how it like lives on past you being that character. That's where I think this will be interesting to see. Like, and a time will come like when a VTuber is going to be like, I need to transition someone else in. And that's when I think we'll find out, does it work or doesn't it work? Like, are people upset or are they okay with it?
I mean, I think for scripted content, it'd be much easier to just swap out actors and stuff. When it comes to live streaming, it is a little bit trickier, because you are playing like as a character, but you're still yourself, and it is difficult to replicate that unless you're a very scripted live streamer. I think like when it comes to Miko, like I don't always have to play Miko, right? I can kill Miko, like kill off Miko, and have a whole story thing where she literally dies. Kind of morbid, but then like I make another character, who I play, who has a different persona. So stuff like that could happen, I think, more than like me getting a different person to play CodeMiko. Or I could just be like, CodeMiko is retired and no longer wants to stream on Twitch, but she's got a friend, and then I could just have like a friend, play another different types of VTuber. But who knows? Like, I think like there's a way where you can actually like, you can come up with a story as well where like, CodeMiko is gonna get upgraded. She's gonna lose all of her memory and become. Yeah. We'll still have the same backstory. We'll still look similarly, but her memory's wiped. So here's a new actor,
What are you currently focused on right now outside of just Twitch? Like, are you focused on your YouTube strategy? Are you focused across like, what am I doing on different social platforms? Like, where's most of your focus outside of Twitch at the moment?
My startup.
Your startup? Okay.
Yeah. But other than that, YouTube. YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Instagram is taking a little bit of time to get, because for Instagram, you kind of, for how to have a successful VTuber Instagram, you need a way to have her be able to be in different environments, swap clothes, etc., in a very efficient way. And we're currently in the process of making that super efficient so that we can get like daily posts of her, you know, and like photo shoot like type posts that, you know, all the other Instagram influencers do. And then we're not really working on TikTok. So I would say mostly it's YouTube, and then we're gonna soon go into Instagram, and kind of just one step at a time.
We're excited to watch. What do you think the next like 3 years look like for you personally? Is it just continuing to evolve this character? I know we talked earlier in the podcast about potential new characters. Like, do you have a roadmap, or are you just taking this a day at a time?
I do have a roadmap, and I think like my first roadmap is like by the end of this year, make it very clear that she's a game character living inside a game world, which means that I'm focusing way more on building game-like stuff than, you know, collaborative content when it comes to deving. That's for the end of this year. I think like for the next 3 years, in terms of CodeMiko, honestly, I'm not sure. I'm not sure exactly after this year of like what new thing I want to tackle. I do eventually want her to, like, her dream, her goal is to be part of a AAA game, and so if that could happen at the end of 3 years, that'd be awesome. Because I've also wanted to do like a thing where she's part of a AAA game and she goes, you know, and goes on an adventure or whatever in that AAA game, and then her stream is more like her talking about what that was like inside the game, you know. So kind of like how when you watch an Avengers movie, you've got Robert Downey Jr. and all the actors being able to talk about, you know, what it was like playing this role at certain times, and you know, just I think that would be super cool, something like that.
Got it. Yeah, I think I'm curious that why we haven't seen more like tentpole IP try and be recreated as VTubers on Twitch and YouTube. And you just mentioned Marvel. I think that's like an easy tie-in to like, how do you create this iconic Marvel character who now like lives on Twitch as they build up for this movie release? Mm-hmm. I'm curious to see if we see any larger media companies kind of push into that. I think the hardest part becomes like time of the talent. So if it is Robert Downey Jr. playing Iron Man as that VTuber, like they're going to have to figure out some other person that maybe potentially sounds like him that can play that character. I also think like it'll be interesting to see who plays in that space.
Yeah. Because
it's so interesting from a fan engagement perspective to be live with that digital character.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So I know we're running out of time. We appreciate you coming on. Hopefully this was helpful. We'll link everything for CodeMiko down below, guys, if you want to check her out. When do you have a schedule that you stream?
Yeah, I stream usually around like 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. That's when I start, and then I end like 5, 6-ish. Yeah.
And that's every day?
Wednesday to Sunday.
Awesome. Mm-hmm. So if you want to check her out, there's her schedule. Thanks for joining us.